Mr. JD Patil is joining us now from L&T to discuss the defense push going forward. Mr. Patil, there's been a lot of focus on indigenization in the space. India on Monday approving restrictions as well on the import of an additional 108 military weapons and systems. How are you looking at some of these steps? What are the kind of implications you foresee?
Good morning, Avan, and this is the second list, as you all know. The first list government had come out with about 8 months back, and that was for 101 military systems. Of course, this is 108. Now, out of this total 109, we see a clear mix of complete systems, that's complete platforms, equipment, systems, and right up to major building blocks. So that's a clear affirmative statement from the government side that Indian industries come of age and they actually can build those systems indigenously. And other aspect of this affirmation is that at any point in time, there won't be a reversal of wanting to go in out and these kind of items. And that's an enormous amount of upside to the Indian industry going forward.
Okay, tell us about the mega submarine project as well. It's worth around 43,000 crores with the Mazagon Docks. It's being built under the strategic partnership model. If you could share with us a little bit more about the project, the plans, how it's coming along.
Avan, this is a dream project, of course, one of the largest projects which government has ever conceptualized, especially with the Indian industry. We see place an order on Hindustan Aeronautics for 48,000 crores for the fighter aircrafts. That just happened this February. And within the next couple of months, now we are seeing a next mega program which is on the move. The difference is this is a program which essentially is going to be under the strategic partnership, as you just said. The strategic partnership is a model which is specifically carved out for mega programs and complete system or a platform kind of projects. Now, these are where it's expected that in an industry which is participating, keep up with a foreign designer and of course start building this system, not just make them here, also try and get every possible know-how and other aspects of the design and try and make subsequent submarines completely indigenously. So it's an extremely ambitious program, and that's exactly where the name called the strategic partnership. So going forward, these are going to be the partners, and they are going to be completely making India Atmanirbhar for all type of submarines forward. Now that's essentially where this process had begun in 2015 in terms of how to go about this strategic partnership. Of course, India has two submarine manufacturers who've been building submarines indigenously, and of course, many, many more aspired to get in. Finally, of course, the selections were announced last year, January, and that's when Mazagon Docks and Larsen Toubro have been shortlisted. Now, we actually have an announcement from government is that going forward, what is called a request for proposal, or in colloquial terms, the tender would now be issued in a couple of weeks to these two companies, and they would be bidding along with a foreign partner of their choice. So that's exactly where we are. So we see a lot of action on this front. Of course, both Mazagon Docks and Larsen Toubro have the wherewithal, the track record, and everything that it takes in place to be able to build these submarines indigenously.
Mr. Patil, your defense vertical, defense engineering, has seen pretty strong growth. In Q4 alone, that segment grew about 43%. Walk us through the outlook in terms of the kind of order execution you've witnessed, what the outlook is on revenue generation, and just how you see defense performing in the long haul.
I see very clearly, the environment has never been this good. What we've seen, major policy changes have lasted about, I would say, about a year. With this 209 item list, both lists put together, and the third list, which obviously is in the mulling at the governmental discussions, we are seeing that the focus has shifted from imports. The same government, the first 3 financial years, we have seen two-thirds of what India bought was imports. That's more so because the previous, of course, government had not done so much, and there's a lot much more because of urgent procurement had to happen during the early years of this government. Now, that point onwards, there's a huge amount of shift, and just in monetary terms, the first list of 101 items means that the government is going to be buying 400,000 crores indigenously. The second list means about 2.5 lakh, that's 250,000 crores indigenously. Of course, all these numbers are going to happen over the next 5 to 7 years. They're not something which will happen within a year. Coming to what you talked about, the Q4 growth, it has to be seen from the perspective that we all had a very bad first quarter last year. And then there was a resolve that we don't fall far too much behind. Of course, COVID was in control at that point in time, and my entire team here obviously decided to, I would say, do the best. We also had a major program which we concluded. That's the K9 Vajras. And these are tank-mounted artillery guns. We delivered ahead of schedule, and that's exactly where we saw an enormous amount of action in this period. Of course, government helps in these kind of major initiatives. And during the pandemic, although receding, there was enormous amount of digital processes that were found. People were still not able to move, so the inspection agencies won't be able to come in your factory, but they won't mind doing the inspection digitally exactly the way we are speaking now. And we would be in a position to show them every performance characteristic of the equipment that they are going to be clearing, actually through a similar kind of little better amount of sensors being used to be able to digitally connect. Now, that's essentially where you see the last 3 months have seen us enormous amount of traction. Going forward, obviously, we hope to be maintaining some amount of this traction, provided, of course, the ordering really starts picking up quickly.
Yes, indeed. Tech in pivoting to using technology, just like we're talking today, has definitely been brought about due to the pandemic. But Mr. Patil, so speaking of those orders, give us a sense as to what the outlook is. You've seen strong execution of projects, particularly in the weapons engineering systems business. The company has bagged very significant orders within this space. Walk us through some of them and what else is on the anvil.
See, I see going forward, just to talk about the same number of items, 209, we have actually delivered about 32 of them in the past. So that's essentially where the track record, the capability exists in India. And these are now clearly visible that the government is going to be ordering, including repeat ordering. We have actually bid for the balance about, I would say, 35 systems out of this list, and they are all in decision-making pipeline. Just to give a flavor, there are multiple warship programs in which we actually are now in the stage of various stages of evaluation. In one program, we already are an L1, and that's essentially, we hope to be getting a contract within the next couple of months. That's what we call as multi-purpose vessel, about 1,000 crore program. We have a cadet training ships program, which is about to now be at a stage of price opening. If luck is with us, obviously we should have the program with us. There are 3 programs on the warship side, which are obviously under evaluation and would be coming up during about next 8 to 10 months in terms of price opening and the contract finalization stages. Come to the artillery side of our portfolio. We have a gun program, which obviously we expect some repeat orders on that. That's the Vajra. And the Vajra being an iconic program, never before in India somebody delivered these kind of systems ahead of time. And that's exactly the benchmark. And the government believes that they need to encourage going forward some of this. We always have been someone who's been delivering lots of weapon systems, both to Indian Army as well as to Indian Navy. We have some close-in weapon systems under trial right now. We have some radars under trial right now. So I see a very steady kind of scenario. Of course, with this negative list related programs, when they start coming, we shall see a sort of an uptick. Of course, the key to that would be the submarine order. As you very rightly pointed out upfront, that's a mega program and that would change the scenario completely. It enables us to be multiples of what we do now.
Sure. Mr. Patil, do you also see this project and more projects like this going forward, and that they are going to help reduce the dependence on imports and gradually ensure a greater self-reliance and dependability of supplies from indigenous sources?
Absolutely. And let me give you a very concrete, with numbers, the kind of a scenario we are in. If we look at 2 years back, the defense budget was 91,000 crores. The capital budget that government acquires year on year. This generally has been maintaining about 10% year on year growth. This financial year in the budget, we have seen a 19% growth. So over past 3 years, we suddenly have seen a 31% increase. And that's essentially where there's about 15% CAGR, which is embedded in some of the policy documents of the governments, actually is coming true. Now, in direct monetary terms for the private sector, the last financial year, government had taken out of this total 112,000 crores, about 51,000 crores only to be done with the Indian industry. That's nearly 50%. Now, the current financial year, this number has gone to 71,000 crores. So I see a clear 40% indigenization related budget enhancement. And that's a clear statement from government that we are serious. We want to do more and more indigenous acquisition. And that's going to augur well for the entire sector and a segment, including the PSUs and the private.
Sure, makes sense. Great to have you then, Mr. Patil, on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you again. Bye.